Hello, and thank you for joining me, Eugene Low, on A Slice of Life, for your dose of do-it-yourself motivation. And today we hear from local singer-songwriter and musician Suf Supiani, who just 4 years ago was stricken with panic attacks, severe anxieties, and agoraphobia, which is a fear of public places. It caused him to spiral into depression. He lost his job and his house and had to abandon a scholarship to study film production due to his condition. Now, at that time, he felt that everything that was important was taken away from him, and of course producing his own album seemed like an impossible dream then. Well, Suf persevered, and he stumbled through darkness and despair. With medications and treatment, he started his slow climb to recovery and eventually found the strength and courage to pursue what he had once lost. And just over the weekend, he launched his debut CD called Solitude, which chronicles his personal journey towards recovery.
I feel so broken when the gravity pulls me down. I feel like dying when my heart starts to beat so fast. Suddenly, my world stood still, I can't understand. Suddenly, I'm trying to catch my breath like a fish out of the water. Ooh, fish out of the water. Tears rolling down my face when I can't move any of my limbs. Frozen like a dead man, but my heart beats on. Suddenly, confusion starts to penetrate my mind. Suddenly, my world starts to turning upside down. Ooh, turning upside down.
Written, composed, arranged and performed by Suf Supiani. That's one of the tracks taken from his debut CD Solitude, one called Anxiety, which is basically a song I think that he wrote back in a couple of years back when he suffered from his panic attacks and anxiety disorders. And we all know about the transformative and healing power of music, but this is one prime example of music actually helping an individual find inspiration and the courage, and the motivation to move on from a very painful, difficult sort of personal affliction. And Suf, very happy that you were able to join us here today. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you for having
me.
Officially, finally.
So your dream has materialized.
Yes. Yeah, there were many challenges, but it happened eventually, so I'm so blessed for that.
Yeah. But music is something that has always been in your blood. It wasn't just, although this album was just 4 years in the making, but from as young as 5, you discovered your passion for music, and that was quite an interesting story as well, because even at such a young age, your father, Supiani Sapari, converted one of the rooms in your home into a music room so that you could, basically do your thing.
Yeah, basically when I was 5, I didn't have any siblings yet, so and my paternal uncle actually is a musician, so my dad converted that room into music room, so I was actually influenced by him. Yeah, so he put me into music lessons.
Right.
Yeah, and it was a good investment, so because it helps me to hang on. I didn't know that I needed that at the later stage of my life.
Right. Yes. It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
How things that you invest in a child at such a young age can become quite useful when they grow up into an adult.
So, yeah.
So how did you nurture your your passion and your interest for music? Was it guitar? Was it keyboards?
Yeah,
It sounds like you have got a more electronic sort of sound, right?
Yes, I was studying at Yamaha Music School then, and I was playing the electron organ. So, and recently, during the launch itself, I had a reunion with my teacher who I had not met for the longest time, Susan Ying, and it was very emotional launch. Yeah.
Okay. So, but you didn't go into a career in music. It was, at that time, it was more of a hobby. You felt it in your blood, but I suppose like many people, probably feel that the commercial prospects of being a musician is not something that that gave you the confidence to actually go into it, right? So you actually went into something else.
Yes.
You worked in a law firm
That's
for
right.
pretty much your entire career, 13
right.
years.
For 13 years, yeah.
And that was when you were diagnosed with your anxiety disorders. Can you tell us about how that came about?
Many factors actually with regards to mental condition. It doesn't only applies current situation. There are many underlying issues that someone could face that is had been unattended for so long and too long. So eventually it turned out to be some kind of illness, and for me it's anxiety disorder. Yeah. So,
what do you think exacerbated your condition? I mean, we hear a lot about mental illness having that stigma. A lot of people who don't understand it, they're ignorant about it, and so they ignore it, and because they ignore it, they suppress it, it becomes worse and worse.
yeah, I faced a lot of it was a fast-paced working environment, and I when I was younger I could take it, but when I gradually mature, I find it like it's a little bit more difficult to deal with. So I was not good at sharing and letting go, and through this anxiety disorder I actually get treatment and to learn how to take things step by step.
Can you share with us how it was at the very height of that illness, before you were diagnosed, I suppose?
Yes.
Did you have any inkling that it was something that you could go for treatment for?
I had always been stressed, but yet I'm always cool at work. But I knew now that I know the definition of anxiety disorder, I realized that it has been developing over the years actually. Yeah. So.
But you didn't recognize it as a medical condition.
Yes.
As with many people who go through this sort of thing, right? We often think it's just stress.
Yes.
It's something normal. We should just grit our teeth, get through it, even though we're having sleepless nights, and sometimes even, having panic attacks. Ordinary people, average people go through these things, and they just write them off as very normal, everyday, common occurrences, but they're not. It's a medical condition that you can seek treatment for.
Yeah.
So when did it get to the breaking point for you when you actually
The
felt
breaking point was when I could not function. I was dysfunctional, and it was almost every day, and I felt that it was not normal to have panic attacks every day.
What was it like, a panic attack?
Panic attack is like a feeling like you're choking and you're like going to die, you're hyperventilating, or and you're feeling nausea, dark tunnel, soft legs, all at the same time.
Is there a trigger for it, or does it just happen?
Well, it could be stress for sure, definitely, and definitely overwhelming stress too. Again, it's stress. Yeah.
Okay. So what made you decide to eventually seek treatment for that?
I was actually in denial for too long. Yes, it's like I didn't want to seek treatment. I was afraid I would lose my job. I was afraid of losing a lot of things. But eventually I lost, and so in the end I go for my dreams. So I didn't want to seek treatment with the Institute of Mental Health. Afraid of not getting jobs, so but it's actually very useful, and they have been helping me a lot through psychotherapy and psychiatric treatment to minimize the amount of panic attacks that I get, so to calm me down again.
There's a lot of bias and prejudice, right? When people think about IMH
That's
and
right.
getting treatment for mental problems, we don't want to admit that we are having those problems.
Yes.
Partly because of the negative connotations of mental patients.
That's right.
But we often don't realize that, any one of us could have experienced one of these things. And in fact, most of us do at some point in our lives, right?
Yes, I agree.
And we're chatting today with Suf Supiani, who is a bona fide local musician, songwriter. He's got his debut CD called Solitude released over the weekend, and it contains 12 songs chronicling his personal journey towards overcoming his mental illness, and he hopes that through the music that he shares with people as well, that they will find the strength also to cope with their conditions. We'll continue to chat with Suf and how that whole CD came about, his songwriting process, his themes and messages and so on. All that's still to come here on A Slice of Life Hour with me, Eugene Loh. Do stick around. Back with me, Eugene Loh, on A Slice of Life Hour, 938 Live, chatting with the local singer-songwriter and musician Suf Supiani, who over the weekend just released his debut CD called Solitude. And he chronicles his personal story through dealing with his anxiety disorders and panic attacks. And he hopes that through his music, he helps to inspire other people who might be suffering from the same conditions not to lose hope and to continue soldiering on. This is the title track, Solitude.
Say yes to solitude tonight. Say yes to your heart and be calm. Give yourself time, give yourself hope, and time for your wound to heal. Say yes to solitude for tomorrow. No matter how hard it may be, there'll be a time when things get better. There'll be a time for you.
All songs written, composed, arranged, and performed by Suf Supiani. And you actually recorded this album in Mauritius. Tell us some more about how that happened.
It was very interesting because I never imagined I would record in Mauritius and do a music video in Mauritius, and it was all blessing in disguise. Basically, when I lost the scholarship, I actually made friends. I made friends with some audio students from Mauritius, and his name is Terry Fabian Milat, and he actually offered, and I went to Mauritius, which was very difficult for someone who has anxiety disorder, who has not came out from the house for too long, to actually fly. Yeah, so it was a wonderful experience for me.
Now, we often find that for when dealing with psychological problems, artistic expression is something that's very, very helpful. Some people do it through journaling, some people write poetry, and some people turn to music. And how has music helped you on your personal journey towards overcoming your condition?
Yeah, from the music that I wrote, it's also like an expression of how I felt during that point of time. And when I wanted to do this album, there was no planning there was no intention of doing an album. It was just I just docketed my songs, just compose it, and but as I go along, when we decided to put into an album, I realized there's a story behind it, and it's more meaningful for people who face a certain kind of stress.
It was something that you had to do. It was very spontaneous.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
And there was this one song that will be played, Just Do It, Do It. Yeah, I composed it in 5 minutes, and there was like an explosion of idea that and I had panic attack while writing the song.
Wow.
So it's like I just had to do it. So this song is to motivate people out there to go for their dreams, and it also motivates myself to not. It's the belief system has got to be solid and concrete. Yeah,
that's when you know it comes from the heart. It's not something that's engineered or or compelled. It's something that just bursts forth from you. And this is the music that you'll get to hear when you pick up a copy of Suf Supiani's CD Solitude, and it is his personal journey, songs about his personal journey towards overcoming his mental condition, and through the messages found in those songs, he helps other people who might be suffering from the same condition find inspiration and courage as well. We'll continue to chat with Suf here on A Slice of Life Hour in about 15 minutes after headlines, sports and business. More information on Suf at reverbnation.com/Suf Productions. That's SUF Productions. Do stay with me, Eugene Low, on A Slice of Life Hour 938 Live. I'm Eugene Low on A Slice of Life for your dose of do-it-yourself motivation. Today chatting with local musician Suf Supiani, who just over the weekend launched his debut CD called Solitude, which is a chronicle of his personal journey towards overcoming his mental illness of anxiety disorders and panic attacks. Let's hear this track next. It's called Do It Again, or rather Do It, here on 938 Live. Taken from Suf Supiani's debut CD, Solitude.
You've got to do it right now, you've got to do it. You've got to do it right now, you've got to do it. You've got to find a dream and keep your dream alive, and all of your dreams will come true. But don't forget, dreams come with actions. Don't forget, dreams come with work. Find a strength, believe in yourself, love yourself, forgive yourself, because you know you can do it. Motivation will get to where you wanna be, but when you fail to plan, you start to plan to fail. Oh no, you're in trouble.
And 4 years in the making, he has finally done it, released his solo CD album. It's called Solitude, and it's all done by Suf himself. All songs are written, composed, arranged and performed by Suf, with the exception of one track which was contributed by Ms. Johanna Abdullah. And isn't it true that very often it's fear and doubt that are the main barriers towards achieving what we want to achieve, whether it's overcoming an illness, overcoming a personal barrier, or realizing your dream. Often we put doubts and fears into our minds, and then we don't do it. But when we actually do it, we find that there will be like-minded people who will come and support us, people who will give us the necessary sort of encouragement and all that. Where previously we thought that we wouldn't get such support. So what was the journey like for you when it came to making this album?
The journey was not easy. With panic attacks daily, it wasn't easy. But because I think the desire, the willpower is there, so to break the stigmas, I'm sure I that just kept me moving. And like the song "Do It," yeah.
How did you gather support and traction for your album? I hear Speaker of Parliament Halima Yaakob attended your launch actually over the weekend.
It was an honor to have her actually. I think I performed in one of her events, and it started from there. The support starts coming in, the support system, because I could not do it all by myself. And then there's an organization by the Club Hill, and that helps to empower people with mental illness. So all this helps from Institute of Mental Health, and it does help me to move forward as a platform. Yeah.
So help me understand, Suf. I mean, you left your job of 13 years, during which that was the height of your mental illness.
Yes.
Right. But since then, why have you continued to display, your signs of panic attacks and anxiety disorders? Help me understand that, because I mean, I'm not quite sure how that works. I would assume that once you leave the job and the stress is behind, that's it, right? But how has it been for you?
That's it. Oh, okay. Because I'm still in contact with some of my ex-colleagues, and I see they getting stressed too. And I care for them, and I don't want them to go through what I go through, because when you have family commitments and everything, it's a little bit more difficult. So I hope they could be inspired not to go through this journey of mine. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's talk about the songs on your CD.
Yes.
You did everything yourself.
Yes.
And give me an idea of how your songwriting process works. It sounds like it's purely electronic sound, is it? Or am I mistaken?
It's more of a progressive kind of concept. It's like a pop progressive, because I would like to cater to different generations and different age group, because stress is regardless of age. So this is not like the traditional album where you follow the rules. For me, I just broke the rules and I just do it. So the process is like for music, for the songs, the music and the lyrics came together for me, and for the process of doing it. But for song arrangement, I had to taught myself to arrange music, because there was no funds for that, so I had to learn. I had to do something about it. Yeah.
So you're saying that the lyrics and the melody come together.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and it's a little bit scary, when it comes. So I had no pressure doing this album at all, actually, because there was no plan. Yeah, it just came.
Yeah, because I'm always fascinated, with songwriters and how they actually put together, a piece of music.
Yes.
Right. So I'm interested in finding out what the process is like for you. I mean, some people lay down a bass line, or they and then or a drum beat. They program a drum beat, and then the inspiration for the melody and the words start coming in. How is it like for you?
Yeah, for me, it depends. Different songs has got different style of the inspiration that end up to be a song. Because I don't have the basic knowledge of song arrangement, so basically it's all about the one that came from my heart, from my head, and I just record the melody first from handphone, or just so that I don't lose track of the idea.
Nowadays it's quite easy because we have our smartphones with us. You can basically just record.
So we record it, and then I study the song again, and then record it on my own, and then it starts from there.
Yeah, and then from a basic thing, you kind of like embellish it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's what you mean by arrangement, isn't it?
Arrangement is basically the music, how it sounds, the end product of the song, of the music.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether you want strings here, you want a little sound effect there.
Yeah. Basically, I played the strings, piano, and the cello, everything. layers by layers, and I put all that together by recording every tracks. Yeah.
Yeah, budget-wise, how did you manage to...
Budget-wise,
gather the funds?
I knocked so many doors, and one of the triggers that triggers my panic attack is rejection, disappointment.
Right.
But I learned from here that it's okay, and eventually Lee Foundation was kind enough to help me to kickstart, to start this. And friends donated from donations, and Club Hill. Yeah, so... It became possible.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Well, in this part of the show, let's get into some of the psychological aspects, of your condition, and what techniques you actually use to help yourself overcome it. You mentioned things like you feel a lot of pressure from, being rejected, and I suppose this affects all areas of your life as well.
Yes.
Do you know where that comes from?
Rejections? You mean?
Basically, I think it's like things like self-doubt and fear of not performing up to a certain standard. When that happens, you feel very... in a way, you feel that you're not good enough, and it keeps playing in your mind that you're not good enough.
Yes,
yeah?
yes.
So where do you think that comes from?
By being a perfectionist and being in denial. And today I admit that I was a perfectionist, and I learned how to let go and not to have too much of high expectation to myself. I don't have expectation towards people, but towards myself. So that's the reason.
Sorry, you say you don't have high expectations
much
of people?
expectation. I don't expect people great expectation from people, but for myself, I set quite high.
So that was something that was natural. You were born.
That was natural,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so that kind of like exacerbated your condition because
Exactly.
you always felt that there was some standard or some benchmark you had to reach or attain, and when you couldn't do it,
Yes, that's how I survived for 13 years, and and so
I see.
that's
you
how I
kept
survived.
pushing yourself beyond limits, beyond the limits, and that made the situation
Yeah.
worse for
And
you.
for me, it's not about going back track. It's always mind racing towards forward. So I will be floating when psychotherapy helps me to bring back to as a gravity to now and not tomorrow, to
Right.
enjoy every moment.
Right, so that's where the mindfulness comes in as well, right? We hear a
Exactly.
lot about that as well. And in your treatment, in your ongoing treatment as well, of
Yes.
course, medication is just part of the
Part of
treatment.
it, yeah.
The other part is also you have to kind of like do it yourself. Right? So
Exactly.
what are some of the things that you have learned maybe from the people who have been counseling you, or that you have maybe picked up yourself, besides like letting go you were mentioning earlier?
Yes.
How difficult or how simple was it to actually
It's
practice that?
It's not easy, but
Yeah.
hyperventilating. One thing that I learned is to breathe in and hold on to 5 counts, and then you let go through your mouth, to breathe in through your nose, and because it is to bring oxygen to your brain. So that's how I overcome hyperventilating. And solitude myself. That's the reason why the album is entitled Solitude. Yeah.
Okay. So when you feel yourself perhaps on the cusp of, going into a panic attack, you try to ground yourself by focusing on
Exactly.
your breathing.
Breathing, being alone, away from the crowd. Sometimes when I'm in crowd, I go to the toilet and sit at the cubicle just to get myself together again before I move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of this fear stems from imagining tomorrow, right? The
Yes.
future, and of
Yes.
course, often imagining a negative outcome.
Exactly.
So how do you overcome that?
Overcome. I rescue animals, so I focus on the things that I have, and not the things that I do not have. So what the things that I can do and not the things that I cannot do. So that is some of the ways that I help myself. I mean, everything starts with you, right? So
Yeah.
that's how I help myself.
And of course, beyond that, you have your music.
Music,
also.
yeah.
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 And we're gonna, leave listeners with this track from your album Solitude. You can get more information on Suf Supiani. His debut CD Solitude is available. You can find him on Facebook. You can go to reverbnation.com/Suf Productions at SUF Productions as well. Suf, thank you very much for joining us here today.
Thank you for
all the
having
best
me.
for your music
Thank
career
you
going
so
forward.
much, Eugene. Yeah.
The dreams that only I could understand. Today I am happy. you are near to hold my hand and move along with me. From the moment I was down till the moment I was strong, you have made my life complete. When I was down, you were my strength. When you were down, I was your strength. What never kills us only makes us stronger. What is best is best. The present is the future. And the things that you can only do.
This album is dedicated to all persons facing mental health challenges, and Suf Supiani, the artist behind this album, Solitude, says, deep within us, we all have what it takes to survive the obstacles. He believes if you cannot find a miracle, you can be that miracle. Believe in yourself. Thank you very much, Sue, for coming in here today, and you can get more information on his CD and his music over at reverbnation.com/Suf Productions. That's SUF Productions. Find a link for his Facebook page. Also, at my Facebook page, search A Slice of Life under Pages in Facebook.